Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you're all doing really well. Thank you to everybody who read that absolute essay that I put on my community tab. I absolutely have received the very clear response that most of you guys think, or the majority of you guys think, that that money should be given to Beck, and I agree. Beck, if you haven't seen their recent community tab post, I'll put it here if you want to pause to read, has been going through an absolutely awful time. They recently had a triple bypass heart surgery, and they're also waiting for results of some stuff that's happening with their lungs that looks like it might be quite serious. So I agree with you guys, and I've decided that giving that money to Beck does feel like the right thing to do, and it sounds like they could really use it. I will post proof of this payment when I make it. I might do it on a community tab post, or I might just put it in the beginning of a video. And for those of you guys who have been asking what happened to my previous charity donation, which I did not post on my community tab, I put the receipts for that in this video here, so you can see those there. Okay, so now we're going to watch Amber's new live. We're not actually going to watch the whole thing. I'm not going to react to it. I've prepared a bit of a script. I've grabbed the stuff that I thought was interesting. Some things happened in this live which, my God, are definitely worth talking about. Twinkie was crying in the background, which was very, very sad to hear. Amber starts talking about some pretty serious topics, but I'll give a little warning before we get into all of that. So this is the live stream here. It's called Live, Laugh, Lipedema. Some of the comments on this live stream were hilarious. We'll cover the comments a little bit later in the video, but the live was only 28 minutes despite Amber's members paying for an hour a week, is it? She basically comes on, talks a little bit of crap, and then leaves very quickly with no warning. She obviously was going live directly after her community tab post, the one that she posted, this long one here. I covered it in my previous video, where she basically takes back everything she ever said about Emily and deleted a bunch of her lives, all the ones that, you know, have caused all of the hoo-ha that's been happening for her recently, where she accused Emily of kicking her and all of that stuff. In my opinion, that community tab post just gave us more questions. It didn't explain what happened, why she deleted all of those lives, and she backtracked like crazy on what she had previously said. The whole thing was a bit of a mess, frankly. But you could tell throughout this live, the chat was bothering her. She looked like she was trying not to cry, and you could kind of tell that she didn't really want to be there, but she hadn't made content in such a long time. It was quite interesting. There's a part in the live where she says something about how she finds YouTube really difficult and really stressful.
My update, you guys, is I have been healthily taking a break, and I am just so at peace with life right now, and I'm happy. Things that don't make me feel good, you know, sometimes it takes a million tries over and over and over, but things that don't make me feel good, like, you just have to say bye to those. And I think that's why you guys have been seeing so many breaks for me lately, because YouTube doesn't always make me feel good at all. But with strength and determination and all the love and support I get from so many of you, like, that keeps me going.
She's in a shitty situation where she doesn't have another well-paying job. She can't just leave, and that makes things hard for her because she has to keep coming back. She never just goes, this is what I did. She always tries to deflect and lie and pretend that it didn't happen, and it just gives her a super disingenuous feel. The chat was full of her paying members, and she was just ignoring them. She was reading through and only reading out comments that were nice. Obviously, she's not going to sit there and read out horrible comments about herself, but she was just like blatantly ignoring the elephant in the room, which was that people wanted her to talk about her community post. She went 28 whole minutes. She never mentioned it once. So I've basically broken down the things that happened in this video into little chunks, and we're going to cover them here. So the first one is the mental health stuff. So one of the key things that Amber is receiving commentary on from this particular live stream is the mental health stuff that she brings up and the way that she does it. In this section, I'm going to be discussing topics which some people might find upsetting. It's a very sensitive thing to talk about. So, you know, if you're not in the headspace to listen to that, just to warn you, it's coming now. So at about 19 minutes into the live stream, somebody puts this in the chat. The person says, imagine you loved yourself enough to take your health seriously. Now, it's quite interesting because this is the comment that the person makes, right? It's from this person, Flo. They don't say anything about mental health. So they ask this question, and this is definitely the question, I think anyway, that Amber's responding to. It says, imagine you loved yourself enough to take your health seriously. It doesn't say the word mental, okay? But Amber, when she reads this message out, she puts the word mental in there.
Imagine if you loved yourself enough to take your mental health seriously. Oh my God, I do. My mental health, ever since I took Zoloft, like, I'm gonna stand a million toes down that Zoloft has absolutely changed my life. This is going to be trigger warning. This is going to be TMI. This is going to be all of it. And I've talked about this before. I was absolutely suicidal about 6 months ago. Every single day, I was done. And it was so fucking dark and I had to constantly put on a face, but behind the scenes I was crying 24/7. I did not want to be here anymore.
So you'll notice two things in the clip that I've just played. The first one is obviously that she misreads the comment, as I've said. The person just says health, alluding to physical health, but Amber misreads it and puts mental in there, as I've mentioned, which I think is pretty key. We'll touch on why that is in a minute, but it's just worth noting that the person never actually asked her about her mental health. She's the one who decided, whether it was on purpose or not, to insert the word mental into that question, which I thought was interesting. And the second thing that you'll hopefully have noticed in the clip I just played is that she immediately starts talking about Zoloft and she doesn't mention therapy at all. So she thinks she's been asked about her mental health, or she wants to talk about her mental health, and she doesn't mention therapy. The first thing she brings up is Zoloft, which I thought was interesting because therapy is one of the key things that you need to, I think anyway, that can help when you're struggling with your mental health. But Amber doesn't even mention it. She actually doesn't use the word therapy in this live once. So this first point that I've brought up here, the fact that Amber misreads the question, and we don't know if she does this intentionally or not. It might be that she doesn't want to talk about her physical health, so she inserts the word mental so she can use it as a moment, which we'll get into in a second. But it's just kind of telling that this happens. And if it was an accident, I really don't know. But it means that she can avoid talking about her physical health. And her physical health, I think, is what the person means. And it's what a lot of people have to say when they talk about Amber. She is looking bigger than ever, if we're honest. And she, Amber herself, has made her whole channel about this. All her content for years and years and years has centered around her weight. So she's done eating stuff, she's done dieting stuff, exercise stuff, she's mentioned and complained about her weight. Her channel is all about her life, as she says, but her weight is a huge part of that. I mean, her weight dictates her life to her. So I think it's quite reasonable that people would want to talk about that and would ask her about that, because she has asked us to care by making content about it, if that makes sense. It's very possible. I mean, she's 34 now, she's 35 in December, I think. This health stuff, her weight, is going to be a massive, massive problem for her as time moves on. And I've always said, I don't want to fat shame Amber. I find talking about her weight, the least interesting thing about her. But it is interesting. And I think you can talk about it and discuss it as a topic without fat shaming her. It's quite telling that she chooses, or maybe not chooses, I don't know, she manages to avoid covering that in this live, when really that's the thing that is the most pressing issue, I think, for her. Now she goes on to talk about her mentals, which she claims was also a very big problem for her in the past, and could have potentially led to her no longer being here anymore. If I'm completely honest, I don't know how much I believe that, and I'm going to get into that in a minute, but the physical health stuff is a very, very present and very real threat to her being here. So I think that she needs to focus on that very much so. She doesn't necessarily need to do it on camera and for YouTube, but she absolutely does need to do it. However, the fact that Amber does misread this question means that she can bring up her mental health when nobody asked her about it, and that can then be weaponized, I think, and used to help her when that's not what anybody was actually asking about. And the chat says as much. Somebody in the chat says this, none of us asked for this, by the way, and that's true. The person, as I've shown you, who asked this question was not talking about her mental health. And as always, in my opinion, the chat was really bang on the money with their comments. For example, this person wrote, "This isn't the right way to deal with this. It's not that it's not okay to share this story, it's that the timing feels manipulative." And I absolutely agree with this. So listen now to what Amber goes on to say. She goes on to tell this story about when she was at bingo and she had this panic attack.
When I was at bingo with my mom, which I've talked about this, I was at bingo with my mom, and I randomly just started bawling, and I went outside. My mom followed me, and she just hugged me, and she was like, what's wrong? And I told her, I want to die. And it was that moment. And then I saw my doctor a few days later, and all he asked me was, how are you? And I started bawling. And my chest felt heavy. And I had like a full-fledged panic attack, a breakdown, just because my doctor said, "How are you?"
Now, this is a little bit suspicious, and I'll tell you why in a second, but first, look at these comments in the chat. This person writes, "You telling us this is weaponizing your mental health instead of addressing the allegations ongoing against you." And somebody else says, "This is such a weaponized moment, I hate it." And I agree, because the standing that Amber is in at the moment in the eyes of her audience is that she has flip-flopped on this massive issue and made this big community post, and she's acting like it never happened. She hasn't said anything about it. She's not being looked on sympathetically whatsoever. So her bringing up her mentals and, using this, there's all kinds of words for it, but I can't really say any of the words, but, she's using this story about her mental health to try and, I would say, garner sympathy. So I agree with these commenters that she is weaponizing this moment. I think she is anyway. And the thing is that this is not the first time that Amber has used her mental health for sympathy. She appears to have used both her physical and her mental health to get people to talk to her in the past, to try and get her audience to forget a certain scandal. So there'll be some kind of scandal, and then instead of addressing it, Amber will have some sort of health crisis instead to deflect. In the clip I showed a second ago, you hear Amber say and explain that she went to see her doctor, and her doctor said, "How are you?" And that this is what triggered her to have a breakdown in her doctor's office. And you've just heard me say that that was suspicious. Now I'm going to tell you why it's suspicious. So in order to kind of set up why this is so suspicious to me, I have to first talk about Zoloft and kind of lay the groundwork. So watch this clip here where Amber is talking about Zoloft and how much it's helped her.
That's why finally I was like, I don't care that I'm afraid of medicine. I do other things that like hurt my body. So why am I so afraid of something that could like genuinely save my life? Because I felt like so. Once the Zoloft started working, I started feeling like the positive effects from it around like, surprisingly, because it usually takes 5 to 6 weeks, I started feeling something around like week 4. And then now that I've been on it for months now, I don't miss a single time. I have that alarm set. I take it every single day on point. I do not feel that feeling anymore.
I think it's clear that Amber's been using Zoloft as kind of an excuse or a little bit of a crutch for ages. We'll talk about Zoloft a little bit here, and then when we get to the end of this section, I'll explain why the doctor thing was so suspicious. So when Amber's messages between herself and Emily were revealed, where you can see that Amber was being absolutely awful, Amber went live, and in that live she talked about Zoloft. This is in the now deleted live stream. She tried to make out that her attachment style had changed because she was on Zoloft, and I think that she thinks of Zoloft as a kind of like get out of jail free card, and I think it has been ever since she first went on Zoloft. So in this live, in the clip I just showed you, you hear Amber mention that she told us this bingo breakdown story in the past, and it's true, she did. But she actually mentioned the Zoloft first. So it wasn't until about a month after she started on Zoloft that she actually told us about this bingo breakdown situation. So she mentions going on Zoloft first. She talks about that in this video here, where she says this.
So on top of like my hysterectomy, my lymphedema, my lipedema, and my messed up metabolism, it just seems like nothing wants me to lose weight. I have so many things just like literally fighting against me, but I'm not going to give up. So while I was at my doctor's appointment, they ask you like this depression screening. They ask you all these like mental health questions, and mine was not good. I ended up literally breaking down in front of my doctor and in front of my mom. I'm like bawling my eyes out. They're handing me tissue. Like I had a full-fledged like anxiety attack right in front of him. It was really embarrassing.
So obviously I've talked about the Zoloft, but in the clip I've just shown you there, you hear her talk about how she ended up getting on Zoloft in the first place. And you hear her tell this story of how she's doing this depression screening. So she says that she's asked a bunch of questions during this screening, and that it's during that she breaks down. She doesn't say anything about it simply being because of the doctor asking her, "How are you?" And if you don't think that that's weird or suspicious, then listen to this. So in fact, in this very video, she tells a different story about the whole "how are you" incident. In this video, she claims that it's somebody during her live stream who asked her, "How are you?" which is what made her start crying.
But it genuinely shows like the level of my mental health. Like, even someone just asking me, like, in my live stream, like, a week ago, they were like, how are you doing? Like, it made me break down.
But this is weird, right? Because in the live stream that we're covering today, in the clip that I just played you a minute ago, and I'll chuck it here again, we hear Amber say that it was her doctor who said, how are you, to her, and then she starts crying. But in the story that she told at the time, she says that it was during a depression screening that she started crying, and that it was somebody in her live who asked her, how are you, which triggered her to start crying.
Even someone just asking me, like, in my live stream, like, a week ago, they were like, how are you doing? Like, it made me break down. And then I saw my doctor a few days later, and all he asked me was, how are you? And I started bawling.
Now, I know this is just a little small discrepancy, but it's just a little bit strange. I think this shows that she's recanting this story of her mental health struggles, not because she wants to actually tell the truth of what happened, but because she absolutely does want to weaponize this situation. Now, I know that mental health is absolutely complicated, and I'm so sure that Amber does struggle, and I'm not saying that these inconsistencies in her story mean that she doesn't have any mental health struggles. What I am saying is that these strange kind of inconsistencies make me think that her telling this story is not because she actually wants to get across what happened to her, but rather she's kind of twisting this moment to make whatever point suits her at the time. And in this instance, it's that she's got all of these huge mental health problems, or she did have them, but now she's better because she's on Zoloft. That's kind of the point she's trying to make in this whole live. She's saying, I'm on Zoloft, therefore I'm not like that anymore. And as I said earlier, she's used Zoloft as kind of an excuse this whole time. So she's trying to basically say in this live, well, I was feeling that way, but now I'm on Zoloft, I'm better, so I'm not like that anymore. I think that's what she's subtly trying to say. She's trying to say all those texts and all that proof that you saw between me and Emily isn't relevant because now I'm on Zoloft. That's the argument I think that she's making. So what I'm basically saying is that I agree with her commenters who say things like this is such a weaponized moment, I hate it. I agree that rather than feeling like a candid moment for her to express her concerns for her mentals and tell us, the audience, about her growth, I think that she's using this story as a tool to try and win sympathy because she knows that her public image is about as bad as it's ever been, and I think that she's falling back on sympathy and using her mentals as a way to try and get people to feel sorry for her, and she's trying to say that Zoloft has changed her life and now she's a different person. Somebody puts this super chat and says, new low, lying about word I can't say to get sympathy. Wow. And I don't know how true it is that she genuinely felt this way, and we'll get into this now actually. So don't forget, when Amber did later go on to tell us about the bingo breakdown, she told the story again. She did it in this video here, where she shamelessly, in my opinion, uses her mental health again, this time not to get sympathy, but as clickbait. She's used her mental health and her physical health as well as clickbait for absolutely years and years and years. But if you look at this video here, it's called Getting Hit On By My DoorDasher, Someone Sent Me Flowers and Almost Went to a Mental Hospital. And in this video, she tells the bingo story for the first time. This is what she says.
It's just my mental health has drastically improved, and I need it to stay that way because I just feel lighter and happier as a person. It's crazy how much when your mental health is so bad, how much that truly affects you. My mental health was getting to the point where there was a moment where I wanted to go to the mental hospital, and I talked to my mom about it. We were actually at bingo. I would say it was about 6 weeks ago, and it's really embarrassing because there's actually cameras outside of bingo. I can't. So I'm thinking, did they hear or see that? I don't even know. But I had a full-fledged anxiety attack. I had to literally step outside. I was bawling my eyes out. My mom came, she was hugging me, and I told her some things that are pretty personal, but it was very close to me, just checking myself in, because I was struggling that bad.
In this clip, Amber says that she's been struggling with her mentals. She makes no specific mention of what it actually was, but she makes this broad statement that she wanted to go to a mental hospital. But I think that she just said that so that she could put it in the title of the video and use it as clickbait. I think everything that Amber does is about content. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I think that she kind of uses therapy and Zoloft, but particularly therapy, as like a little bit of a side character on her channel. It's like a buzzword. She's got no actual respect for it as a practice. She certainly hasn't had any, and you can tell she hasn't engaged meaningfully with therapy because she displays absolutely no character progression, and she does not know how to admit wrongdoing at all. And we also know that she's never had any bloody DBT, despite claiming that she did, because in one of the now deleted lives she says the quote, "facts are feelings," actually, which is one of the central pillars, well, it's the opposite of one of the central pillars of DBT. One of the central points of DBT therapy is that facts aren't feelings. So Amber has clearly never had any DBT, and she's absolutely lied about that. For Amber, her mental health is just a weapon. It's not something to be handled or taken seriously at all, and you can tell this because the chat is absolutely full of people saying things like this. How is therapy? Girl, you would be in therapy if you loved yourself. This is why therapy is important. But as I've said throughout the entire live stream, Amber does not mention therapy once, even though I think therapy is one of the few things that actually has any hope of helping Amber. She doesn't acknowledge the comments about this, despite making it clear that she is reading the chat.
The pauses are because I'm reading the chat.
So she is reading it, she's just ignoring 3/4 of it. She reads out this super chat from somebody called Miss Plastique TV. The person writes, "I appreciate you being so open about your struggles with your mental health, and I'm so happy you're doing better. Also, you're so gorgeous." I mean, this super chat is funny, to be honest, and it's kind of part of the problem. Amber's and babies fall for her shit so easily. They're like, oh, she's talking about her mentals. This comment almost reads like a troll. It almost reads like this person does not mean this at all. But I do think it's at the point now where she comes on live just for these little tiny comments, and they make her feel so much better. They help her so much.
People should be allowed to speak up about mental health. People only care once it gets like too bad. People only care when someone's gone. That's just sad. People should be able to talk about it whenever they want, wherever they want. I appreciate you being so open about your struggles with your mental health, and I'm so happy you're doing better. Also, you're so gorgeous. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I think Haram babies, honestly, are some of her worst enablers. I don't know how they can be that stupid to see her content and see what she's like and still support her. It's kind of crazy. When it comes to Zoloft, we know from Amber's initial videos around that time, these videos here, these are videos that I've shown clips from, Amber discusses her experiences on Zoloft, and I think that they're likely somewhat real. I think she was taking it, or she may still be taking it. She was definitely prescribed it, because according to the messages that we see between herself and Emily from the time, here's the screenshot of it here, you can see Amber tells Emily that she has been prescribed Zoloft. So it seems like she at least was on it then, but I do of course question if she still takes it. Not just because she's a prolific liar, but because she tries so hard in this live to convince us that she is taking her Zoloft. She over-explains about her having a timer and how important it is and how she takes it every single day. But I just think that any time Amber tries to convince you of something too seriously, it's likely not true. She's lied to us about DBT therapy, she's lied to us about literally every other thing, so I wouldn't be surprised if she's lying about still taking the Zoloft as well. Whether that's a lie or not, it's not the only one that she tells in this live. So it just so happens that there is another lie which can be debunked by the text thread that I've shown you already. This is the GLP-1 lie. So watch this clip here.
Yeah, GLP-1s will work, but if you have a history of gallstones or pancreas problems, it's not the greatest idea to be on them. I have been told by a few doctors, no, you cannot take these because of that.
In this clip, you hear Amber say that she has been told by a few doctors that no, you cannot take these, referring to GLP-1s, because of her pancreas and gallbladder issues. However, If you actually look at the text message thread that I've already shown, the one between herself and Emily, it's from May of this year, you can see Emily asks Amber about her doctor's appointment. Emily says, did they prescribe the GLP-1? And Amber says, yes, but I'm not taking it. Emily asks her why, and Amber says, too expensive. So this shows that, no, the one doctor that she actually did see did prescribe her the GLP-1, and she was the one who decided not to take it. It's simply a lie that she's seen a few doctors, or a few doctors have told her that she can't take it, and this is further proven in the texts from a few weeks prior between herself and Emily, these ones here, where you can see that the med spa or clinic or whatever that Amber reached out to initially to try and get onto the GLP-1, although they did deny her, they said that they wouldn't provide it to her. They say, if you zoom in and read these, that she needs to do it under a doctor's supervision, because when you get a GLP-1 from a company like this, you're not doing it under a doctor's, close watch where they can take bloods and make sure that you're okay. But when Emily points this out in her message, she says things like this. They said you probably can do it, but it just needs to be managed with an in-person doctor so you can find a local clinic. Amber replies, my mum won't take me, and if she does, I'll feel like a burden. So again, it is in fact a total lie that she can't be on a GLP-1 and that multiple doctors have said no. In fact, she's actually only seen one doctor, and this doctor prescribed Zoloft. And Amber herself is the one who said no because of the cost. Now, the money of it all and the cost is suspicious as well, with both the mental health situation and the GLP-1 situation. Because if you recall, Amber said on her channel that she wasn't going on the GLP-1 because she couldn't afford it.
So the first thing I want to talk about is Zepbound. That is the GLP-1 that I was going to go on, which is the weight loss injection. And my doctor prescribed it to me. And based on all of the research I've done, I was like, okay, yes, it is very expensive, but it is doable. So I get to the pharmacy, and turns out that is not the case at all. The pharmacy told me that the prices have raised, and it's like, okay, in my head I was like, all right, so the first month is just the beginning dose, which is obviously the cheapest month, but my doctor told me that the beginning dose is not going to do anything for me. So when I increase the Zepbound, it's going to increase the price, and I don't have that money. That's okay. I am currently working on my relationship with food.
But this doctor appointment, where she's prescribed the GLP-1, is the exact same doctor's appointment, which Amber claims that she herself went to right after the bingo breakdown crisis, where she says that she genuinely considered going to a mental hospital. So both of these two things were happening at the same time, and they manifested in the same doctor's appointment. But going to a mental hospital, I assume, is something which is not cheap in the States. I don't know. It could be that it's covered by insurance. I don't know. I imagine it's probably a very expensive thing to do. But if Amber is saying at the time that she couldn't afford Zepbound, which is the GLP-1, but she wants us to believe that at the same time, prior to that exact doctor's appointment, she was genuinely considering going to a mental hospital. But if she can't afford to pay for a month of Zepbound, then she certainly wouldn't have been able to afford to pay for an inpatient mental hospital stay. So this makes it very clear to me, in my opinion anyway, that she never actually did consider or genuinely consider a mental health stay. I think that it absolutely was just clickbait. Amber then goes on to talk about in this live how she absolutely loves being on a GLP-1.
I literally love being on semaglutide, Ozempic, like whatever the fuck they were calling it at the time, whatever I was put into my body. I loved it. Like, I didn't have food noise. I didn't think about food, because there's such a big misconception. Yeah, I love food, but I also hate it at the same time. So it's nice, when you're on semaglutide and such, it just feels freeing not to rely on it so much.
But I think that this just sounds like absolute bullshit. If she loves it so much, then she could get on it. She's had a doctor prescribe it to her. She just needs to be willing to stop wasting money on bullshit, Lego, DoorDash, fucking charms to play choosy with, and actually go to her doctor regularly. She makes this excuse when she talks about it to Emily that her mum won't take her, or if she does, she'll feel bad. And she's made all these bloody excuses saying that she wants to be on it, but she can't afford it. And now she's saying it's because the doctors won't let her take it, which is objectively untrue. It really seems like she just has no actual interest in losing weight. It's like she just loves it. She just doesn't care. I don't know if it's because she thinks she can't do it. And if that's how she feels, I understand. Losing weight is bloody hard. I'm doing it right now. It is difficult. You have to stick at it. You can't just give up. And it's really difficult, especially when you've got a big chunk ahead of you. And Amber's got several big chunks ahead of her. It makes you feel like it cannot be done. You have to break it down into small little chunks and go, I'm just going to lose 5 pounds. I'm just going to lose 10 pounds. And then you look back and it's, oh my God, I've lost 40. It doesn't just happen all in one go. And I think that Amber doesn't know anything about delayed gratification. I think she's never learned that lesson. But of course, these issues I've mentioned, the Zoloft, the Zepbound, the GLP-1 lies and all of that are not the only problem or the only interesting thing to talk about in this live. The other thing, which I've mentioned in the intro, I think, throughout this live, you can hear Twinkie crying behind her. I'll put in a couple little clips of this here. It's kind of more or less audible depending on the part of the live. So watch a few clips. I'll put some here for you.
I mean, for real, if I was boring, there wouldn't be that many people watching. That's just like the way I feel. I'm sorry, London.
You can really hear Twinkie crying. It's definitely a dog. It's definitely a dog crying. Obviously, the people in the comments noticed it. There are comments like this, show us Twonk, they're crying. And then the top comment on the actual live is pet neglector. Somebody says, still neglecting your pets, go figure. The animal noises of whimpering or something is distracting. Now, this comment was interesting because I agree, it absolutely is distracting. If I heard Molly crying at any point in my life, I'm like, oh my God, what's wrong? Is she okay? And I will go to where she is, no matter what I'm doing, even if I'm on a work call, I don't care. I'm like, my dog's crying, is she okay? Granted, different dogs cry different amounts. I know I've spoken to a couple of people who have Jack Russells and other kinds of dogs that cry a lot, so you know what's normal for your own dog. However, I will say, I've never noticed Twinkie crying in a live, ever. This is the first time I think that I at least have noticed it. So that suggests that it's not a normal thing, right? It's not something that happens all the time. But Amber, if you look at her during when this is happening, she doesn't fucking react. She literally doesn't react. She appears to not even notice, almost like she can't hear it. So that's concerning to me, that Twinkie's crying and she's not even reacting. But it also makes me wonder, like I was saying, it's never happened before. Why is it suddenly happening now? And I suspect that it might be because in one of her previous lives, one of the now deleted ones, she picks Twinkie up and you can see Twinkie's claws and they are so fucking long and she got so much shit for that. And I reckon she's actually shut Twinkie in another room so that, or put a barrier across or something so that Twinkie can't come out. And I reckon that might be why Twinkie's crying. Or she could be crying for the toilet, she could be crying for any reason. Another reason that people have said is that when Amber goes live, she tends to shout and rage. In one of the now deleted lives, she whacks her hand down on the table really hard.
I am the fucking victim in this. This time I am, you guys. I'm sorry to fucking break it to you. This time I fucking am.
So it could be that Twinkie is crying because she knows that Amber might be about to freak out and get angry and she's potentially scared of that. I don't know if Twinkie would be smart enough to know that, I'm not sure. There's also this comment thread where somebody says, is that a puppy sound? Did she get a new puppy? And people say, I hope not. Someone says it sounds like Twonk in pain. I doubt that she's got a new puppy. I think it probably is Twinkie, which is just so fucking sad. She needs to rehome Twinkie like right now. And obviously other people have noticed it. Somebody says ignoring the whining of Star, talking about Twinkie Star in the background is crazy work. We can hear that poor pup whimpering in the background and you call yourself a good pet parent. And I agree. I know all dogs are different. I'm not going to sit here and tell everyone how worried you need to be when you hear your dog crying. Sometimes my dog Molly will steal socks and then run downstairs and not be able to hide them. So she gets sad and cries because she can't find somewhere to hide her socks. Obviously, I don't worry about that. But the point is, you hear an animal in your care crying, you go and check on them. And Amber didn't. She just didn't fucking care. There's also this funny part where Amber doesn't know what the word invaluable means. Now, this has been like widely memed across Girl World. I'll chuck a clip of it here.
Keeping your youth is invaluable. Keeping your youth is invaluable. Oof, I disagree. It's so valuable because the minute I start to feel old, I'm going to act old. And I just feel like that's going to affect my mental health because I'm not being true to myself.
Obviously, this is just kind of funny. She doesn't know what the word means and whatever. Like, yeah, that's kind of funny. But what's more interesting about it is what she says after this clip.
It's valuable to be true to yourself. And if you have age regression due to trauma, fuck it. As long as you take care of your responsibilities, that's all that matters.
So you've just heard her say that she's got age regression due to trauma. Now that was very interesting to me. I had a little look into age regression. I found this article here. It's from verywellmind.com. It's called Age Regression in Adults and Why It Happens. I recommend reading the whole article. I'll link it downstairs, but this is a little clip from it. It says, age regression in adults is essentially when an individual starts behaving in a more childish way than appropriate for their age. And so it's a regression in the sense that they go back to a mental and behavioural state from earlier in their life, usually during their childhood. Now, of course, this doesn't sound like something which needs to be formally diagnosed, although the article is written by, I believe, a psychiatrist, or it might be a psychologist, not sure, but it doesn't sound like it needs professional diagnosing, which of course, even if it did, Amber would never pursue that. But Amber then goes on to say that it's fine to have this age regression as long as you take care of your responsibilities. But Amber fucking doesn't. She does not take care of her responsibilities. So regardless of whether or not you think she actually has age regression, I think it's just a fucking excuse for being an awful narcissist. But either way, she does not take care of her responsibilities. She's ignoring her dog crying in this fucking live. She never takes accountability for anything. She's awful. She's treated all her exes like shit. And I just think that this kind of age regression thing is genuinely just another excuse for her shit behaviour. I thought it was worth mentioning because it was quite interesting. And then finally, there's this bit of the live where she talks about the filter. So she's accused right from the beginning of the live of having a filter on her face.
Your blush is pretty. Thank you. New iPhone? No. Same iPhone I've had. Wow, you guys are like giving me like, I don't know. I'm going to turn into a narcissist in a minute. I swear on everything I love, I'm not using a filter. How do I prove that I'm not? Wait, I feel so flattered. Stop. You guys are genuinely making me feel so good.
So obviously she's very excited and very flattered that the chat thinks that she's got a filter on, and I mean whatever, but there's a bit where she tries to prove that she really doesn't have the filter on, and you can see she goes filter on, filter off.
Filter type deal? No, there's no filter. This is literally just me. Okay, wait. Thank you. I've been trying to do my makeup a little different. No filter. I'm literally just on here from my phone. Here, there is a filter button. Hold on. Filtered now. That's filtered. That looks weird. I don't like that. And then to take it off, now it's off.
Now, when the filter first goes on, I think you can kind of see it go on, but it really barely makes any difference. And in the past, she said that she doesn't even know how she would use a filter. So she's clearly learned how to do it. But it's just kind of funny. And a lot of the comments mention this. She goes filter on, filter off, and it literally looks the same. And then, of course, there's the fact that she quits the live early. She's got paying members, people who pay her every month. I'm not a member anymore, but I was. People are paying for live stream content and they're not fucking getting it. This live is like 28 minutes long. It's not going to make her very much money. The views on it aren't great. And I just think that, I don't know, man, I feel like she's speed running the end of her YouTube career at this point. And I don't know what she could possibly do to pull it back. I'm curious if you guys have any comments. Is there anything Amber can do to get her reputation salvaged in any way? I really don't know. I think it probably has something to do with actually just admitting to her shit and owning it, but she'll likely never do that. And then, of course, there'll be some things that she isn't lying about that she then can't admit to because she actually wasn't lying, but nobody will believe her. So she's kind of in a shit situation either way, but I don't know, man. I think committing, full lolcow and giving the people the drama that they want is probably her last option. I'm going to read some of the comments. So somebody says, it's so obvious she's stoned now and back to smoking. She's not even trying to hide it. I agree. Obviously, we saw in the messages between herself and Emily, there's a message where she says that she has to go and smoke. I don't know if at the time on her channel she was telling us that she wasn't smoking or not. I haven't bothered to look into that, but I agree. She's definitely smoking. Of course, you know, she must be so bored sat at home constantly. So smoking might help her pass the time. I don't know, despite how fucking stupid it is for her at her size. By the way, I think the person means vaping because she vapes Delta 8. Somebody says girly flop couldn't handle it. That was quite funny. But yeah, she just rage quits. She just leaves like halfway through the live. She's just like, well, it's not halfway because it's the end, but she just goes, okay, anyway, I'm going to go now. Like she's clearly trying to like hold it together and can't handle the heat.
Stu said there has to be something else to talk about, girly. Oh my god, I've talked about so many topics. But yeah, anyways, I'm gonna go. I just wanted to give you guys a little update, and I'll see you guys in my next live stream. Bye.
So she leaves so that she doesn't have to address it, I suppose. Somebody comments, can you people stop paying to insult her? That's why she comes live and she counts on it. Now, that's got a lot of likes, but I actually don't agree. If you go to the website, wherever it is that you can see how much money somebody earns from super chats, Amber only earned £26, which is like $30 or something in super chats from this live. So I don't think she's counting on that. I think what she's counting on is the AdSense, but it will dry up. So with YouTube AdSense, you're paid the following month for money earned the previous month, but also your videos do keep earning a little bit of money, but not much. If you post big videos and big live streams or whatever towards the end of the month, so if you post them on like, I don't know, the 28th, 29th, 30th of the month, then money that they keep on earning over the next 3 or 4 days, because most videos have like a shelf life of like 3 or 4 days, and then they basically earn not very much after that. I know that lots of that drama happened towards the end of the month, so I believe that then the following month, because this is what happened to me as well, because we were all making videos about it, so all the reactors were making a lot of money at the end of the month. I think that money rolled over into the following month, which is why she was doing okay, but now she really will be scraping the barrel. I think she's going to have to do something. I know she's planning on doing Vlogmas. She's already said, and she says in this live stream, that Vlogmas is going to be boring. She doesn't even try and sell it.
Super hyped for Vlogmas. Any plans for specific vlogs? No, I'm literally, okay, this is my trailer for Vlogmas, okay? Hi guys. I'm over 500 pounds. I live by myself. I have 3 fur babies that I love more than I even love myself. I leave the house once a week. Besides to walk my dog multiple times a day. So, trailer is Vlogmas is actually going to be boring, miss. But you know what? Let's hop along and do the damn thing. Oh my god. Boringness is coming. I'm just saying.
No idea what's going to happen with that, but I think the money situation is going to become a factor as time goes on, particularly if her members quit because the content that she's giving them is not what she's promised. And then somebody says, why is everything but being over 600 pounds terrifying to you? And that's so interesting. It does seem like everything scares her. Chicken, thunderstorms, germs, although I heavily suspect that she's nowhere near as scared of germs as she claims to be. Shout out Hello It's Heavy, who made this video, which I thought was very good. But it does seem like everything scares her apart from the actual thing, which is an actual threat to her life, which is her weight. And it's very strange. She thinks it's kind of quirky and exciting to be scared of stuff, but she's not scared of the right thing, I don't think. Those were all the things that I thought were interesting in the live. And yeah, there was some stuff in there that was worth talking about. I don't know what's going to happen now. That live ended very abruptly, not very well, so I'm not sure if she's going to keep going live or what she's going to do. She's got to do something, surely. I'm pretty conscious that I need to try and cover a few other people that aren't just Amber, because I don't want my channel to be like only Amber. So I am going to do some glitter and lasers and some foodie beauty, and I might throw some other little random things in there as well. I like to talk about what I know about, which is Girl World. So yeah, I'm gonna try and get creative with it. I also absolutely love doing the videos where I listen to your voice notes, so I'll do some more of them as well. If you don't follow me on Instagram, go and follow me over there. My Instagram's @RachelThePython, and I'll make a story when I'm going to be collecting more voice notes. But that's it. I think we'll leave it there. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.